things that are familiar can seem different to others, and you can be caught out by it, but it often gives you a fresh perspective on things if you see something through others' eyes. Where I am, in the middle of the Kent countryside, and very quiet little lanes, you never see a soul, I'm always surprised every morning if I'm putting rubbish into the bins outside on the country lane, and then just as I'm doing it, somebody says, "Good morning," running past for their exercise, or cycling, or walking, "Good morning," and I'm just sort of looking over a hedge, or maybe clipping a hedge in the middle of nowhere, or as I say, putting out the bins, and I'm always surprised by the fact that to other people this area of nowhere land is like a Panther's motorway, Panther's paradise. The idea of things appearing differently, though, is an interesting one in art. For example, Canaletto's paintings of London make it look like Venice, and you see the Strand there, and you think all it needs to be for the picture to be completed is it to be filled with water, because all the buildings look Venetian-like. And the same thing happened with somebody called Gustave Doré. I'll show him later. He's a Frenchman, and he did these extraordinary prints of Victorian London that made it look like a sort of dystopian hell. One of the most interesting writers and composers was Bertolt Brecht and Kurt Weill, and they wrote a musical play about London. Of course, it wasn't like being in London at all. It was like being in Berlin in the most exciting and decadent time between the end of the First World War and the beginning of the Second, the Weimar Republic part. And their piece of work was called the Threepenny Opera, and we know it as probably as Mack the Knife. It's about a chap called Mack Heath, who's London's most notorious criminal, and he lives in this Victorian underworld that's painted by Doré, a Frenchman. So it took a German and a Frenchman to picture a different sort of London that we find quite refreshing, even though it's not really anything to do with the London we know or knew. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is we're going to look at a bit of that. And by the way, playing this, I realised it might be very good to pant along to. Here's that Gustav Doré print, Victorian London.